sometimes that's what we need in life. When we see someone else do something that we want to do but we're too scared to, it becomes kind of like this. We can either choose to be jealous and envious, or we can choose to be inspired.
Welcome to Smoky Mouse, stories by the people for the people. My name is Michelle, and today I'm sitting down with Merichel, a mixed media artist. So here's Merichel's story.
So I'm Merichel, pronouns she and her. So I'm a mixed media artist. I do a lot of painting, printmaking, zine making, collage work. I also run a monthly workshop allowing people to come in and play with their creative side with no pressure to create a masterpiece or upskill. It's just for them to just play for the sake of playing with their creative side, because I feel like, I don't know, we live in a world where it's like your productivity has to mean something, especially around creativity. And I found that a lot of the people that I was coming across around the arts community and just in general were creatives who abandoned their creative sides. And then, so I was like, oh, this would be a cool little thing to create a space for people. And especially out in the West, there's not much creative things happening. It's very, very dead and very uninspired. And I know a handful of creatives in the West that feel the similar ways.
But what I've kind of found as a woman looking at your work, I felt like you kind of you sit in the nuance a lot with your work. And I think that's really beautiful and amazing. What kind of has led you to kind of go down this path?
So I come from a community service background. So before being an artist, I was pursuing being a social worker. And through the midst of that, I realized that industry is very, what's the word? I wouldn't call it toxic, but I think a lot of people that go into that industry don't have a level of empathy and compassion that's really, really needed. I also just got burnt out. So a lot of the work that I create, or the ideas that I work with, is coming from that space of healing. And I find as a migrant in Australia, it's just this weird dance of trying to figure out who I am outside of the social influences that I, grew up in, and as well as the ones from my home and my culture, and finding a home and balance between that without getting lost in all of it. When I say lost, self-abandoning, I think doing a lot of internal work around my subconscious mind, my programmings and conditioning, whether family, social or cultural, I find that, because I'm Filipina, I find that a lot of my upbringing roots in the patriarchal structure. That's why a lot of my work, I guess, would be classified as feminine or feminism, because I just find that it's one way to break out of the programmings and conditioning where I was taught that I have to be a certain way to be a woman or to show up, and I find that creating art has been a very healing and uncomfortable and vulnerable process, because a lot of the work that I have to create, it's there's a process to it where I have to be vulnerable and honest with myself, and then having to sit with those uncomfortable feelings and emotion that come up, and then having to fight with myself, being well, I don't want to show people this. It's this shame and this self-judgment that come in, and the fear of being perceived and the fear of being alienated or judged, or shame and all that stuff come in. And then it's just one of those things where it's I believe in something bigger than myself, the divine God, whatever you want to name it or label it. And I find that sometimes with certain ideas that we get as humans, it doesn't matter who is creating that. There's certain ideas that want to be birthed on earth, whether that's becomes the seed or a domino effect for other people that come across it. And sometimes I just think about that when I'm creating and producing things or putting things out there, because it's sometimes it's not about me. It's something it's bigger than me. Whether it inspires one person or two person or just myself, that's still enough. And I think that's where a lot of the process of my creation comes in. So a lot of healing and self-discovery, and I guess creating that purpose for myself.
And what have you found with talking to women or talking to people that, you know, really like value what you do. Have you kind of felt that in terms of, are they picking up on that?
Like for me, it acts like as an invitation for them to do their own thing, to go explore themselves, to step outside of their comfort zone, to kind of like start questioning the things that they wouldn't normally question. That's what I found. And yeah, a lot of the times when I talk about like certain issues that I've gone through, it's like it's something that, you know, a lot like in my own community that obviously resonate with, and it's kind of like this common theme that we have around, you know, not being able or not feeling safe enough within ourselves to show up as we are. I feel like the people that I come across with, it's just like, yeah, it's like a little gateway to like a little invitation for them to explore themselves in their own way. And I think sometimes that's what we need in life. When we see someone else do something that we want to do but we're too scared to, it becomes kind of like this, we can either like choose to be jealous and envious, or we can choose to be inspired. And like within my own community and some of the folks, the external ones, you know, not all of them but most of them, you know, use it as an invitation to get inspired, to do their own thing, to pursue their own goals and explore who they are outside of all the conditionings that they've absorbed growing up. Yeah.
And I know that you mentioned that you kind of ran, is it like a class, or sorry, could you explain it again?
Oh, so the workshops?
The workshop, yeah.
So it's just like a monthly workshop that I host where people can come in and create for the sake of creating. So each month I choose like a different medium or practice that they can explore. So it's not like a set thing that they have to, like, since it's not like just paintings. In April I ran like a record disc decorating thing, and then the other month before that I did one with zine, and then I've done one with like paint and sip. So there's no pressure for anyone to be like, okay, I'm coming into this workshop to learn something. It's like, no, you're just here to play. Like, you know, after like a long week, like come here, connect with yourself, and just allow yourself to express whatever the fuck's going on internally.
Totally.
Yeah.
Something that I noticed about your page and like the kind of the inclusion of zines, which I think are just like, they feel old school to me.
Yeah.
And why are they kind of important to you?
I feel like when you choose to pursue it in like a more monetary way, there's like a shift in how you relate with your creativity. And I find that, I don't know, obviously looking at it from a marketing perspective, you know, you have to have your certain audiences to market to. And in the art world, they kind of just teach you, especially in the fine arts, they kind of just prioritize the higher up class. And I don't fucking like that. I think it's classes. I think it's very old and outdated to just focus on like the middle class people to pay thousands of dollars. I just think it's bullshit. I use different types of medium to access entry point for certain people. So like with zines and like even screen printing and like printmaking, those are like, I guess, the accessible aspect of it. And same with my painting. Some of them are super accessible as well, but like just different creation creates different entry point for different, I guess, classes, but just different audiences, which is one way to obviously sustain the creative business, because sometimes just the system that we live under, it'd be fucking sick to just sell $10, $20, you know, type of artworks, but that doesn't really pay the bill, you know. So it's like having different tiers of audiences that you can target is really important, without minimizing or lowering the quality of the work for each of them, because they're obviously still important. So I think that's why I gravitate towards zines, because it's very grassroots and community based, and I fucking love it. And I just think everyone should have access to art. It doesn't fucking matter how much money you have or you don't have any. So like, I just think it's really important to invite that in, and it's also a way to dismantle those old programmings around art being like a luxury. So yeah,
I love what you said about that kind of grassroots, keeping that kind of grassroots element alive. How do you kind of manage making money and being able to live and doing something really important?
Yeah, I think as a creative, I think it's about having multiple stream of incomes. You know, obviously it's just like, it'd be cool to just, you know, obviously have one where you're like just selling your paintings, for example, and you're getting a shit ton of money from that. But it's also just being, I guess, understanding of like our environment and the system we live under, and really like big on being compassionate towards yourself, because it's like, yeah, because it's like you're working with forces that you can't control. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
like, dude, you can stress and pressure yourself. You can overwork yourself to the point, you know, but at the same time, like, there's literally no point of doing that because you're working with things you can't control. So it's like having to find that balance of like, okay, cool, this is what I can control and what I can contribute, but then this is also the things that I can't control as much as I want to, you know. And I think it's like really going back to the heart and getting to know yourself, and it's like, what is my moral, what is my value, what is important to me, you know, and like looking at your, you know, our behaviors and actions being, and asking ourselves, like, does this align with the morals and values and the life that I want to create and experience? I like move a lot from my intuition, so like I just follow my gut, and it usually just leads me to where I need to be. And I find that, and yeah, I just find that like when you're being genuine and moving from the heart and you're getting to know who you are in your, like, in your soul level, there's certain people that just come into your life, you know what I mean, and that also understand your vision, your values, because they also move from that. And I think as creatives we have this idea that we're so like, and like obviously everyone's unique in their own way, but like a lot of the cravings and yearning that most humans are going through right now around community and, you know, community and like, what do you call it, connections. A lot of people are craving that right now. And I think also like just being vulnerable, not just towards yourself but towards other people around you, can really create that sense of community without drowning in like the responsibility of rooting the work and effort that you do from capitalism, you know. And also that's like another process to that. It's like unlearning your purpose and production and behaviors away from capitalism, because it's like you can still contribute in whatever form that you want, and it doesn't need to make a shit ton of fucking money, but obviously like again it goes back to having that multiple stream of income. So maybe you'll have one work that will provide you for the bills and the rent, but then the other work that you do is just like maybe just for your soul and for your community, and that might not necessarily lead to a lot of money, but it has this feeling and experience that no money can buy. So it's like, so it goes back to someone's morals and value and what's important to them.
I know that you've spoken a bit about, I've seen a post about you talking about kind of trolls and things like that. Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Like, what
was it?
When I kind of like saw the kind of troll thing, I was like, okay, well, what is making people uncomfortable about what you're uncovering that's leading them to do this? Yeah. And I'm curious if there's a connection. Do you think?
There is. So another page. I don't do it as much now, but I used to like stitch people's video, whether it's like about feminism or just people making fun of feminism, or like just like little hints around gender norms. And I would stitch those videos, just make little funny satire jokes. And there was a video where it was like this girl was just saying how your partner shouldn't be telling you what you should wear, and I kind of like stitch it being like, yeah, your partner's not your parent, or like, what the fuck, like I was just making a joke anyway. And then it just went viral on like the other side of Instagram, I guess, and I just got a bunch of people in my comments and DMs for like 4 months. Like it was during Christmas holiday, that's why I remember it so vividly, and like it was on my birthday. And I was sitting,
oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, I look back at it, I find it funny now, but at the time I was very like, you know, my nervous system was like, I was ready to fight these people. Like I was like, oh my god. But anyway, it was just them like being like, well, you're gonna end up with a cat, and like, you know, all those like what do you call them, little digs that people give to women. And then it's like, well, you should, because the video was like me not wearing makeup. I'm pretty sure I woke up like 10 minutes ago, just, you know, was on my phone. And then they're like, you should put makeup on. It's like, I can't deal with this. And it got to the point where like certain trolls would come into my DM. I'd, you know, eventually block them, and like each post that I would make in my story or like on my actual feed, they'd just comment on it. They would just like harass me for ages, and then to the point that they started finding my family's like social media. And then, you know, after that experience, I was kind of just like, okay, there needs to be like a boundary with how I post online, and then like that image that just came to me, it was kind of like a modern witch hunt. It's like, you know, a woman couldn't even express herself or express her opinion without people being like, well, you're wrong, meh, 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 meh. And also like really unpacking, you know, why people were so triggered. But it's just like, your partner shouldn't be telling you what you shouldn't wear or not, you know. And it's like, it's different if like your partner goes like, hey, it's cold outside, you should put a coat on. That's different, you know. But if a partner's monitoring what you should or shouldn't wear around certain people, then what the fuck, like what kind of relationship are you in, you know what I mean? And then it was just really like confusing, and I didn't really know how to deal with all this angry. I was just in so much rage, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So I was like, I'm just gonna paint whatever comes out. And then and it was just like dealing with also like living as a woman like in this modern era of like, I don't actually need a person or someone else to provide for me, because obviously, you know, a lot of feminist right has like, depending on which country you look up, but comparing in Australia, you know, women are a little bit more freer. So there's that, you know, there was just, I was just like, okay, let me use my privilege for something else, because what the fuck's happening?
So you're able to kind of channel it into more art and more expression. And did you find that like people that weren't trolls resonated with that a bit?
So I found that like the people that weren't trolling me, they also obviously resonated with the work and the writings that I did after that, and were very supportive in encouraging me to continue showing up, because it got to the point where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't show up. Maybe I should just delete my social media and like just go back to working in social work or whatever. And then like, I had a small group of people at the time that was like, no, keep going, fuck them. That's what they want you to do, to cower and not use your voice. And then I was just like, yeah, so true, fuck them. So like I just got petty. I'm like, I just kept posting about it, and then
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Amazing. If you could have all the resources in the world, what would you love to see happen with your art for the future?
Honestly, the vision is having my own gallery space that other creatives can use for their own purpose, whether it's a workshop, whether it's to showcase their work, and for it to be thriving in a way where it's like there's an extra fund for other creatives to use for their own work. Because like right now, depending on the gallery that you work with, there's usually an entry fee to put your work up in their gallery, even if you get chosen. And I have come, like a lot of people in the people that I know in the arts community would love to do that, but can't, because obviously they don't have the extra money to pay $50 or $90 to put their work in the gallery. And that's like one of the goals that I have, is have like a funding for people that are like that, and maybe like exchange through like not them giving the money back, but maybe like helping out in the gallery, volunteering, you know what I mean? That'd be very cool, as well as like running or creating more installation work that allows people to kind of experience and navigate, or inspire them to do a little bit more introspect, and maybe inspire them to break certain cycles in life. I love that. That'd be that's a dream.
Amazing. Is there anything else that we haven't kind of talked about that you would like to share with people?
Nothing on the top of my mind.
Yeah. Can I just ask quickly, how did the sound go and everything? But the sound was definitely going, right? So you were saying so many amazing things. I was like, oh my gosh, I really hope that this is picking up. Like, and there was like cargo bus. I'm like, oh my god, she's saying something amazing, please. I really enjoyed what you said. Like, just could really see this kind of progression from you talking about community services and your experience there, and then like kind of your cultural experience and who you are, and how that's kind of fed into you understanding the kind of social programming that is going on, and you wanting to like challenge that and stepping into this uncomfortability within yourself is like so, and I hate this word, but I can't think of another one right now, strong.
I've tried to like preach like, you know, like, oh, everyone should break certain cycle, question yourself, but sometimes people don't have the capacity to really look within themselves because of their own other life challenges. And I found that sometimes when we walk as the example you know, sometimes people look at you at first like, oh, she's fucking insane. What is she doing? Like, what is she talking about? But then they see the result that you're able to bring, or we're able to bring to our lives, and they're like, oh, I get what she's saying. I get what she's, you know, she's doing now. It's like, okay, cool. Maybe she's not crazy. Maybe she's on the ball.
That was Merichel and a look into the story behind her incredible work. If you enjoyed this, follow Smoky Mouse for more conversations with people building things from the ground up.